Surprise! Hi everyone, welcome back to the Colour Cave where we like to play with art stuff. This is an unscheduled stop this week. I was not expecting the response I got from the first video using these Crayola pencils in Johanna Basford's World of Flowers. And I felt that it was really unfair to leave you guys hanging on because so many of you said that you would like to see more done with this picture and see it finished. So I have a rather short window of time today. I have my own job. I also live on a farm. So I'm generally quite a busy person, but I'm going to take this opportunity for this hour that I've got just to do a little bit more in this. And I don't think we'll get finished today, but we can make some more steps towards it. There will be more chat rather than tutorial today because the pencil technique that I was using before is what I'm going to continue to use when we go up to the top of the picture. In your absence, I have added a little bit to it, and all I have done is continue the red colour up into all these little gaps in this sort of arch type shape. So you might want to go ahead and do that first, or you can do it later on. It's completely up to you. What I will say is the colours that I'm using, obviously I'm going to tell you guys what pencil colours I'm using. Feel free at any point to change it up, make it a little bit different and do what you feel. This is just the way that I want to do this picture, as I had an idea in my head before I started what I wanted it to look like. So anyway, enough rambling, I do plenty of that. Let's get going. I'm just going to get lined up here, if you bear with me. See, I'm a bit unprepared today because this was not meant to happen today, but I like to be rebellious. These extracurricular videos are getting out of hand now. I'm going to have to add about 6 hours onto my day. Okay, so the pencil that I've used to do the nooks and crannies was this red colour, which is red orange. And I'm also going to go back to these leafy colours that we used last time, which was the jade green and the olive. Now I'm primarily going to stick with these for doing these leaves here, but in addition to that I am also going to add to the collection the yellow green. Focus. Not focusing. Why are you not focusing? Oh, there we go. Yellow green. And that's just to add a little bit of interest to it. I don't want it to look too boring and flat, but I still want to maintain that focal point of drawing the eye down to this area here where all the pretty bluebelly type flowers are hanging down. We'll make a start. I like to work right to left because I'm left-handed, and that's a habit that I've built up from using smudgy graphite pencils and also Prismacolor pencils because I don't like to rub over what I've got. If it's something you're prone to doing, you can just grab a scrap sheet of paper, or sometimes I like to use tracing paper so that I can see underneath and just pop it under your hand to colour. Not such a problem with the Crayola pencils because they're quite hard. So I'm just going to make a start down here on this little bunch of leaves, and I want to have some sort of uniformity but still make sure there's a little bit of interest. So I'm going to start with this big one here, and I am using the jade green first of all. Now the same technique as before, as I said, I just want a really light layer down, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of map out what colours I want in certain places first before I start building those layers up, because that's quite important to me that I get it right in my head before I, start sort of rampaging in there and then all of a sudden I've changed my mind. So we'll have none of that, please. So that's quite important, I think, as a planning step, and it's something that I do with all my colouring pages. And for those that have been subscribed for a lengthy period now, they will tell you that Gem always does this. This is just her way. I think that's a little bit too close. I'd be going cross-eyed looking at that. There we go, that's a bit better. So I've just left that little tip there, and I'm going to take the yellow green and I'm just going to put that in there. And it is just for a bit of variation, that is all I'm looking for. These ones are kind of tucked in behind, so I'm going to take the darkest green, which is the olive green, and just pop a little bit in there, and I'm going to do the same with this one here. Now because the light source is at the bottom, if anywhere is going to be paler, it's going to be the bottom side of these leaves, unless they're tucked in behind something else. But to me this one is clearly overlapping this, so I can then take my jade green to fill in the bottom part of each of these leaves. So now I'm happy with this tiny little section here. I'm going to go back in and just start working those layers up so that we can get some nice colour down and start to sort of blend them together as well. This yellow green seems to go down beautifully on this paper. It's really, really nice. That's only 2 layers and I've hardly pressed down at all, so that makes me really happy. I'll go back to my jade green now. I would like to say hello to our new subscribers as well. There seems to be a lot of people that have come on board because of this video, because the first video had a lot of views in comparison to some of my other colouring videos. So I'd just like to say hi to everybody that's new, welcome, and I hope that you have a pleasant time here in the cave. Everyone is really friendly and really nice in the comments as well, so feel free to ask questions of the other viewers as well. It's nice to see a little bit of dialogue between everyone. I'm just using the olive here and I'm really just tucking that in there to give it a little bit of a shadow because it's kind of in behind everything else. Going back to the jade green now, just to sort of bulk up this middle part. There we go, that's looking quite good already. And I'm just using the flat jade green on this other side. The other colour that I am going to use is, I'm going to go back to the outer space colour, which was the really dark grey. Let's see if I can pull it out now. If you remember, I had a sharpening mishap with that. It didn't do well at all. And I'm going to use that to create some shadows in amongst all of these, a bit like I did with these flowers. But we'll get to that later on. I just want to get base colour down first. So things have been busy as usual here at the cave, as we always are. We're never not busy. I have been extremely tired the last few days. And there's just it's the time of year at the farm where there is a lot going on, and I have to kind of prop up Mr. Jem because his brain doesn't function very well. That was nearly the wrong pencil there. Yeah, he is even more tired than me because he works horrendous hours, so I have been doing my best to kind of juggle everything and keep everything going, which it's I'll be honest, it's not much fun. So this is like my respite. This is how I kind of relax and chill out a little bit. So thank you for joining me and being a part of that, because that makes me really happy. Our little collie pup, who is not really well, she's still a puppy, but she's not very puppy shaped anymore. She's quite big. She has been absolutely golden this week. She went through a sort of phase of being what I would say like a naughty toddler and just sort of pushing my buttons a little bit and sort of testing her boundaries. And in the last few weeks, she's really calmed down, and she's just been an absolute joy to have around. So that's quite nice as well. She is still full of mischief and nonsense, but you do have to remember she's only 7 months, so she has plenty of time, you know, to be a baby yet. But this week has been delightful so far. Right, so now that we've got those done, here is my outer space. Outer space, I really like this pencil. And just thinking about how these leaves are sort of layered over each other and the fact that our light source is coming from here. So I'm going to pop a little bit of shadow in here because this long leaf on the left is covering up those little right hand leaves. Now we've already got the darker colour up the top, so I'm not going to do much with that. I'm just going to pop a little bit of this down here as well. And I'm not really pressing particularly hard. Just want to get that down there. Okay, that's pretty good. I'm happy with that. I'm going to bring this over a bit on the bottom leaf because there is the one on the top. Again, not an exact science, just want to make it look pretty. Okay, let's go back to olive up here. One of the other things that's kind of going on with me just now, I mentioned it in a previous video, the month of February and the first couple of weeks in March is kind of a tough time for me in terms of my mental health. It's a period of time where I kind of struggle a little bit, and I think it's a combination of factors really. But one of the things that I really like to do in my spare time is I like to go running, and it's something that I've been doing for many years. And when I start to feel crappy mentally, the first thing that I do is I start eating too much, and I start drinking too much alcohol, and then I stop exercising. And it's been kind of weighing me down for a number of weeks now, and I've just kind of fought my way through it. I've been dealing with it for years, so I know how to handle it, but there comes a point where you kind of know you're coming out the other side of it, and I'm pleased to report that I have reached that point. I haven't been for a run since the 10th of January. That was the last time I went for a run, and I have put on an absolutely ridiculous amount of weight between Christmas and now, and partially to do with what I've just talked about. This one down here, I'm just going to go back with the yellow green, and I'm going to put that quite far up because we're getting closer to this light source down here. So yeah, the last few days I have started to feel a lot better. I can feel myself sort of pulling out of that horrible drudgery that I seem to get stuck in, and I weighed myself, which I kind of expected it, to be honest. I am a person that puts on weight very rapidly, but I also lose it quite rapidly as well, and I have put on so much weight. So I tried on some of my running gear, knowing fine well that it was going to be tight if it fitted me at all, and most of it doesn't fit. Back to Jade Green here. So I immediately went online, and the first thing I did was order a new sports bra or two in a bigger size, because I had dropped several sizes over the course of last year. So I was a bit disappointed that I had to do that, but I knew it was important to do it. Back to outer space. I knew it was important to do it to get me back out running, because as soon as I get back into a regular pattern of running, it makes me feel so much better. Like, it really, just getting out there and putting one foot in front of the other, not to achieve anything spectacular, because let's be realistic, not having exercised in as long and also being the weight that I am and the size that I am, I ain't going to be breaking any records, but that doesn't matter. It's all about getting back out there. So that arrived today, so tomorrow I'm going back on my first run, which I am so looking forward to. I really am. Same again here, I'm back to the yellow green. So that's kind of, it's kind of been on my mind for the last maybe week, and I have made a conscious effort this week to watch what I'm eating, limit my alcohol intake again. Now I'm going to skip out the jade green this time, and I'm going to go straight to the olive and just pop this in here. So I am starting to feel a lot better about myself again. I'm sleeping better, and I have been doing a little bit of yoga in the mornings, which is something else I really like to do, just to get my body used to moving about again, so that when I go out for a run tomorrow it doesn't actually literally die of shock, because that would be bad. So it's just really nice to be feeling better again, and it's something, as I say, I've come to expect every year, and I know how to handle it, but there's only so much you can do if you get to that point mentally where you can't cope with it. It's very difficult to pull yourself out of that artificially. I would like to say that's the wrong word, but I'm sure you understand what I'm getting at. Right, let's move up to this little bunch here, these ones. These little flowers are quite cute, I like them. I don't know what I'm going to do with them yet, but I like them. Okay, so let's go jade green first of all. I'm going to have to give this a little sharpen. So I haven't set myself any great feats for tomorrow. Normally, when I'm at full fitness and not training for anything, I will run anywhere between sort of 4 and 10 miles on a run, and that increases if I'm training for a race or whatever. Tomorrow I have set myself the lofty goal of running 5k, which is 3.1 miles, and if I can manage that without having to stop and walk, I will be quite happy. And I'll be doing it at what I call going for a doddle. I will literally just be diddling along at a very slow jog, a very gentle jog. One of the things that I have is an old knee injury, and it came from I had a sort of nasty run-in with a sheep many years ago, and it kind of like gouged under my kneecap, so my right knee is not very good at all, and obviously the more weight you carry on it, and this is now olive, the more weight you carry on it, the more stress it is under when you run. So I have to be very, very careful until I lose a bit more weight. So there will be no sprinting or anything daft like that. And the other thing as well is, because I run around the farm, I'm running on very mixed terrain. It's not like I'm running on a flat surface. So I have to be super careful. So that is tomorrow's task. But as I say, I'm actually really looking forward to it, which is, it's kind of nice, because I actually really enjoy running. It's something that I'm very privileged to be able to do, because when I injured my knee, the doctor did say to me that there's a chance that I probably wouldn't be able to run again, and I proved him wrong on that on multiple occasions. So just want to get back into it and get going, but it's nice to feel motivated to do things like that as well. Definitely, definitely. Now, I was going to start going a bit further down here, but I actually quite like the fact that there's a little bit of white of the paper showing through. And again, it's a stylistic choice. I actually like doing that on purpose when I'm colouring. Feel free to colour that in all the way to the bottom. And I've got my outer space here. Now, I feel that this will be quite dark in here, so I'm just going to lightly put a coat over the whole of that little section, just because it's kind of shadowy. There we go. And then I'll start popping some in here just round the top of this leaf to give that nice impression of the overlap, but not to bring it too far down, because again the light source is going to sort of encroach on those areas, so it's not going to be a long shadow, if you like. There we go. Okie dokie, so I'm going to go jade green here, and I'm going to just make this really, really bright, flat colour to around here. And then I'll do the same on the other side. So the next exciting thing that happens at the farm, well, it's not exciting for me, but everyone else seems to think so, is we are due to start lambing. And we have been anticipating these first lambs for quite some time, and nobody has appeared yet, so it is going to be imminent. And this year we have extra staff, which is delightful for me, because it means I may not have to do as much work you know, on the farm, which would be just lovely. It would be so nice. But I am not going to hold my breath. I've told Mr. Jem I'll be surprised if it happens, but we shall see. I will, however, I know a lot of you love to follow, you know, what's going on with the farm and things. I will, regardless of whether I have to go out and work or not, I will go out and take some videos of our lambs for you and show it to you, because I know that some of you would just love that. So it probably won't be until into May though, until we're in you know, we're in full swing sort of thing, but I shall keep you updated on that. We call the little lambs, we call them wee squawkers, because they go ah. That is the official noise. And that's what we always say when we're you know, if we have orphan lambs or whatever that we need to bottle feed, we call them the wee squawkies. They're really funny though, because if you do have an orphan lamb and you've been bottle feeding them, they'll follow you about like a dog, because you're the person that feeds them, and they just trot about after you. You know, you're in the shed, you're maybe you know, putting some water out for the girls, or you know, just sort of doing all the housekeeping, and they just trot about. It's really funny. They're so cute. Excuse me. Okay, so up here we've got a kind of two-tone leaf here. So let's take the olive, and we'll start off in here. And I'm going to build that colour up, and I'm going to make that quite dark in there. Again, we've got this sort of overlap of this kind of rounder leaf, so I'd quite like to show that. And I'm going to skip out the jade green and just go straight to the yellow green. And I'm just going to whack that down. Considering Crayola pencils are pretty, you know, they're pretty hard pencils, as long as you keep that light hand, the ability to blend them is actually not bad at all. I have used far more expensive pencils than these that don't even layer over each other properly, and I think it's one of the reasons why Crayolas have remained a popular choice over many years. And even, again, a lot of you mentioned in the comments, I love to read your comments, and a lot of you said that although you have more expensive pencils, you still love going back and using your Crayolas, and that's just lovely to hear. And I don't think I use mine often enough, but the last little while I did actually give them to my friend who was wanting to try colouring just to see if she was going to like it, so I let her have the whole pack. Normally I just keep the Crayola pencils for visitors, but they haven't been here, so I really haven't had a chance to play with them either. On the other side here, I'm going to use just the jade green. Again, same thing, I'm just popping the colour down, and then I'm going to start building it up by going back over it. Keeping the same pressure, I'm not pressing heavier and heavier with every layer. That's what you don't want to do, because you want the paper to take as much of the pencil as possible, you know, that sort of the multiple layers and the coverage, and build it up very, very gradually. So there we go. And again, I'm just going to use my little outer space pencil, and we'll just add in some shadow here. Maybe a little bit in here. Trying to keep it subtle. Tiny bit in there. I need to fix the tip of this. I'll give it a little sharpen. That's better. Oh, look how pointy that is. Do you like a bit of pointy? A pointy point. Not that a point would be anything other than pointy, but yeah, you know what I mean. So we've got this clump in the middle now, and this is where things start to get interesting, because these leaves have borders round them, and it is a very signature move from Ms. Johanna Basford. And I think what I would like to do, what's sort of coming up here, is to keep these border areas a lot lighter and use dark colours on the inside parts of these leaves that have the borders. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start to recycle colours. The yellow colour that we used down here, I am going to use that in conjunction with the yellow green, because I know they're going to go together, and I'm going to use that for these kind of like outer border parts. So that is the golden yellow, if you remember. I'll just have to dig it out. Oh, first time, that was a good guess. So again, going on the same principle that this is the furthest away part of from our light source, and this end is the closest. So we're going to try and sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? We're going to try and replicate that, or simulate that, that's probably a better word, in these border areas, and start with this yellow in the sort of tip areas. Now what that also is going to do as well is it's going to bring balance to the picture, because not only do we have yellow at the bottom, but we have yellow at the top. And that's something that, for me in particular, I just find quite aesthetically pleasing. I don't know why, I just do. So I'm just going to do that in all the leaves that have these areas, you know, with this kind of border bit on them. And again, just as I did before, I'm just really mapping out where the colour is, just to see what it's going to look like before I start building up layers. Because it makes it much easier to erase if you do this as well. If you decide you don't like your colour placement, it's much easier to erase one light layer of pencil than get an entire leaf done and then think, oh, I don't like that, and try and sort of start scrubbing away at it to rub it out, you know. So I like to do this. It's like a safety blanket. Makes me feel safe. I'm not entirely sure what's going on here. I think that this section in here is the other side of this leaf. I've just realised I've missed a teeny weeny wee red bit in there as well. I'll just fill that in while I'm here. Cheeky. Thought I'd got them all as well. There we go. Yeah, so I think this is probably the other half of this leaf, and it just stops somewhere under here. That's the assumption that I'm going to make. Sometimes you can get kind of lost in the line work, you know, if there is a kind of more complicated area and you can't see what belongs to what. And I think that's one of the reasons, again, why I like to sort of do this sort of mapping out of the colours, because it helps me sort of differentiate the different parts of the picture as well, and just makes it a bit easier on the eye. So I'm just bringing that up around there. I'm not being particularly specific or careful about where I'm putting this, it's just to get the sort of general feel of it. I'm going to do this part in here as well. I know it's a bit low hanging, but I'm quite happy to include that as well. I've got these sections here, so I'm going to use the outside as the the yellow part. This is more about symmetry than sort of emulating the light source. Okay, I think I'm quite happy with that. So now I can take the yellow green and I can start to fill in the blanks. I'll sharpen. Considering these are such hard pencils, I seem to be spending a lot of time sharpening. There we go. So the same thing again, just be careful when your green is meeting with your yellow, because we want to be able to blend those together. That's important to us. So need to keep that nice light hand that we all crave and, you know, aim to have. When I first started colouring, which was a number of years ago now, I had a complete death grip on my pencils and I was so heavy-handed, it was unreal. And it took me a really long time to get out the habit of doing that. And it's a struggle that I understand. Again, it's something you see with quite a lot of newer colourists who, you know, sort of join the colouring groups on Facebook or make comments on Twitter or other YouTube videos from other YouTubers, and they say that they can't get a pencil to layer or blend properly, and a lot of the time it's to do with how hard they're gripping the pencil and how much they're actually pressing down on the paper. And it took me a long time to get out that habit. It has benefited my sketching skills as well though, and I developed it through colouring, not through sketching. I don't mean the bad habit, I mean the fixing of the bad habit. So there's quite a lot to be said for practising things like that. And I did have a period of time where I used to sit and do gradient drills, you know, work from dark to light just with one pencil, with one colour, and just do it in like big sort of squiggles across the page. And I would sit and do that for about half an hour, and every time I felt myself tightening the grip on the pencil or pressing down too hard, I made myself stop and like move down to like the next clean part of the piece of paper and start again. I did that quite a lot because it was such an ingrained habit, and I thought I'm gonna have to shake this pretty soon because I was getting really bad cramps in my hand and I was finding it difficult to erase things just because I'd pressed so heavily, and I was leaving dents in the paper and one thing and another. So that was something that I kind of had to deal with when I learned to colour. I would love to hear, for those of you that are more seasoned colourists watching this, I would love to hear some of your colouring struggles as a beginner. I think it's important to share things like that because there are a lot of newer colourists who think that they're maybe the only person that's had that problem or gone through it, and it's nice to share and know that they're not alone. This yellow green is just going down absolutely beautifully. I'm actually really enjoying this. I do find these sort of tutorial style videos that I do, I genuinely find them really relaxing, and it's just a really nice way for me to unwind, and it also affects my mood. It alleviates a good mood, or if I'm feeling a little bit stressed, it really helps to just chill me out a little bit. And it's so nice that I do this and sit here and ramble on and have a colour and make myself happy, and it's useful to other people. It's like a double whammy. I'm not happy with the non-symmetry, the asymmetry of this page. I do like things to be very sort of symmetrical and, you know, everything's sort of neat and tidy. And these leaves are kind of knocking me off a little bit. But I think if we try and balance the colours properly, it should still be pleasing to my eye by the time that we've finished. She says, hopefully. Just realised I missed this little guy down here. Righty-ho, that's looking fine and dandy. So now all I'm going to do is I'm going to go back in with my yellow and my green, and I'm going to blend these colours together and just get some layers on so that we can get this nice and pigmented. I have no idea why I've started on this one, but I just have. So we'll get this down. For any of you that are interested and are new to the channel and or new to colouring, I do have a playlist of videos entitled Colouring for Beginners. You can search for it in the playlist section, you know, in the playlist tab of YouTube, when you're on my channel homepage. And I've got some handy videos there on just covering the basics and some techniques and things that you can use that are really straightforward and aren't too overwhelming. Some of you may find them useful if you're still quite new to this as a hobby. And any feedback that you want to give on those videos or any suggestions, I am absolutely open to. I am quite a broad-minded person. I'm also a thick-skinned person, so if you have a criticism, as long as it's constructive, I am more than happy to take it on board. And I'm always open to feedback from all my viewers, everyone, if they think there's something that could be done or improved or changed. I am perfectly aware of my own failings, and I am constantly trying to improve upon them. One of my pet hates is that when I'm filming a video, I say a lot, and I do sit and try and edit out all the ums as far as possible, because if it irritates me, I know there's a high chance it probably irritates about 20 million other people, so kind of cut that down a little bit. But you do, there I go again, see, I've literally just done it. It is very difficult, and you have to strike that balance of not losing the person that you are, but also presenting in a suitable fashion that isn't repetitive and is going to irritate the living daylights out of your viewers. So I do try, guys, I really do. I do my best. Oh yeah, this is looking quite bad. This is actually standing out a lot more than I thought it would. I've kind of worried myself a little bit here. Oh, what have I done? No, it'll be fine. I'm confident in my abilities most of the time. Let's move this down a bit. Pop this round here. I can hear gentle snoring floating through into the cave from roughly, I think, the kitchen area. I think one of the larger dogs must be asleep. I can see this sort of gentle grunty snoring noise. But we have been out for our afternoon walk, which was very pleasant. It's very nice outside today for a change, not very common in Scotland. And the collies in particular, they need a good run. So I've obviously tired them out adequately today. The puppy Pip, she is absolutely the cutest thing when she's asleep, and I keep saying to Mr. Jem, I wish she was this cute all the time, because she's just adorable when she's asleep, and then she wakes up and things get chaotic again. But it was actually the same with my old dog, Mist. She was just one of these dogs that couldn't sit still. She was a proper sheepdog. She had ants in her pants the entire time. And the only time that she was still was very late on at night. If I decided I was staying up late to maybe watch a film or draw or colour or whatever, she would climb up onto the couch and crash out beside me, and she literally wouldn't move a muscle. But it had to be like 11, maybe even midnight, before she would do that. The rest of the time, even when she was sleeping, she would still move about a lot. And young Pip is exactly the same. She cannot sit still for 2 minutes. It's really funny because you'll give her a command and she will do what she's told. She's very good at doing what she's told, but about 3 seconds later she's moving again. So you can tell her to sit down or lie down and she will do it instantly, but then she gets distracted by something and it's like, oh, what's that? And she gets up and away she goes. It's really funny. She's very easily distracted, but again, that'll sort of dissipate as she gets older now. You know, she becomes more of an adult dog rather than a pupper. But she is the polar opposite of my other collie, Jock. Jock is he's very shy, but he's also very laid back as well. He is a premier athlete in terms of being a sheepdog. He is very, very fast, and he's also very fit as well for his age. He's coming up 7 years old and he's super fit, but he just sort of hangs back and chills out, whereas Pip is, the only way I can describe her, she's like a bull in a china shop. So it's quite nice that they've got little complementing personalities, because the arrival of Pip has brought Jock out of his shell a lot more, because I think he was kind of hurting when Mist went, because they were really good friends, those two, and him and I sort of grieved for her together. But Pip has brought out so many good qualities in him. He's much more sociable with other dogs now, because Pip has been climbing over him since she was, you know, like since she was 9 weeks old. And that's been really good for him as well, because it's increased his tolerance and his sociability. But also as well, Pip has picked up some of Jock's quieter habits as well, which is really nice. So that's sort of teaching her to be calm. So they're a really good pairing, the two of them, and they get on, for the most part, they get on well. Pip does wind Jock up. She tries to play with him. You know, and he's maybe lying sleeping or whatever, and he growls at her and warns her, and 9 times out of 10 she will not take a warning, and she keeps going, and eventually he gets mad with her and he sort of has a go at her. He's like, rah, 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 rah. It's like, go away. And she goes, oh, and then runs away and comes and hides behind me. And I keep telling her, I say the same thing every time. I'm like, that serves you right, you can't take a telling. But they're so funny, the two of them. They really are. They're very entertaining. There's no need for television in our house when we've got collies. Okay, we're getting round these now. This is pretty good. Pretty good. I'm just, as I'm doing this, you know, I've gone a little bit quiet there. Shock horror. I was just starting to think about how I'm going to work the pencil in the middle sections of these leaves. And I think I've got it figured out. I think I know what I want to do. I'll get this going. Definitely going in the right direction now. I know I said this last time, but I'll say it again. The thing with using Crayola pencils is patience. You need to be patient and just take your time and enjoy the process, because that is what is going to yield you the best results with these pencils. If you try and rush things, it's not going to go as well. That's for sure. Something that I would like to hear from you all about is if there are any other budget brands of pencils you would like to see me colour with. It's not something that I have. I am not a huge collector of pencils, contrary to popular belief, much as I like coloured pencil. But if there are particular sets that you use, I know that the Arteza pencils are quite popular. So if that is something that you would maybe like to see in a future video, I could colour something in another book with some, you know, some types of pencils like that. I would be more than happy to do that, but you need to let me know. You need to talk to me about it, guys, and make it known. And if you want to do that, it's something that I will surely look into. I can also do, I mean, I'm happy to do these sort of chatorial style videos. I quite like doing these. They're not as sort of, I was going to say stuffy, that's the wrong word. They're not as sort of formal as a tutorial, but you're still getting that sort of instructional element if that is what you desire. Okay, so our border type leaves are kind of, I'm just making sure I haven't missed any. Yep, we're good. So I'm going to go back to these two original colours that we have used down at the bottom, these darker colours, which was again the jade green and the olive. And I'm going to start working away on these, and I'm going to try to think of them as a whole rather than individual leaves. And again, that's really just thinking about the light source and the direction that the light's coming from. So really what we want to do is have the jade green at the bottom part of these leaves. So again, I'm just going to do a bit of mapping out, because that's going to let me see how far up I want to take the jade green and where it's going to meet the olive, because I want to get quite a nice balance of that. So I'm just going to work my way around with the jade green, and we'll see how we go. And if I want to adjust that meeting point slightly, then I've got plenty of leeway to do it without causing any major disasters, because that would not be good either. This is going to sit really nicely against the yellow as well, one would think. I'm not sure about this one. I think I want to keep it down here. And maybe here. can see how we go with this. I'm just having a look at this little leaf in the middle here that doesn't have a border. It looks kind of lonely. I might have to colour that just now. Yeah, let's do that. But I think I'll go back to the yellow green for the bottom part of this. Just that very tip, and then we'll go into the jade green. I will use a little bit of olive with this one as well, up at the top, see in these parts here that I'm going over now, just to get that the way that I want it. Yeah, okay, right, a bit happier with that now. I'll carry on from where I left off. The other thing that I really want to do at some point, and it's probably not going to be until the weekend because I am kind of busy just now, I have my 3D pen sculpture that I'm working on, which is the animated Disney Cheshire Cat. I've been working away at him for a couple of weeks now and it is taking forever, and I haven't done anything on him for a while, so I'd really like to get that a bit further on, but it's very time consuming, and it's finding the time to you know, be able to sit for a couple of hours and do something like that. So, but it's coming on really well. It's the first big project I've done with my 3D pen, and I'm pleased at how it's going so far. Incidentally, if you're interested in looking at that, if you go to my Instagram page, I have posted pictures there of progress so far of how he's looking. You're more than welcome to go and check that out if you're on Instagram. Okay, I think that's about it for the jade green. I've got this one. I keep forgetting about this little guy down here. I'm sorry. I don't mean it. Yeah, I like doing the 3D pen stuff, but I do feel that is very much a Sunday afternoon pursuit once you have absolutely everything else done. And also have a backlog of YouTube videos that you haven't watched. Because you could be there for some time. I certainly find that anyway, but that maybe it's just me. I don't know. It's a very intricate process though. I'm practiced enough now that I can concentrate on actually using the 3D pen, but I can also have like one eye on a YouTube video as well. That didn't come straight away. That's taken quite a while. That's taken a good couple of hours of 3D pen sculpting to be able to get to that stage, but I'm kind of getting there with the multitasking now. It's quite funny though, because if I am working away with it, Mr. Jem sometimes comes in if he's finished work, because it tends to be this time of day, you know, it's very late afternoon once I've got everything else done, and sometimes when he comes in from work, if he's in early, he comes and sits in the cave and cuddles the dogs, and he'll just sit and watch. And then he starts to point things out, like, oh, you've missed a bit there, or oh, what are you doing with that bit? It's quite funny, but it's irritating at the same time. I'm like, I've been sitting here for 20 hours. Don't you dare come in here and tell me what to do. But it's all in the name of improvement. In fact, every time he comes into the cave, because it's an item, because of the size of it, it's not something that gets tucked into a box or a drawer. It's sitting out all the time. And every time he comes into the cave, he stops and scrutinises it to see if I've done any more on it, or to see where he can point things out to me. He's fascinated by it, and I think he's not an artistic person, and I think he just appreciates the engineering that's gone into it, you know, the framework and the 3D space that it occupies. I think secretly he's quite impressed. I must ask him. Not that he's not impressed by my artwork, but I just think it appeals to him more because it's tangible and it is a 3D object. I think that's kind of more up his street. He hasn't asked for a shot of the 3D pen right enough. I don't know if he'll ever will, but yeah, he seems to have a sort of slight fascination with it. Okay, before I carry on down here, I just want to go back over these and get them looking the way that I want, and it's just so that I can gauge how I'm going to work with these ones here. So I'm back to the jade green. Just start to build up that colour. Exactly the same as we've been doing before. I am not doing anything differently at all. then just go back in with the olive. Really want to get this darkened down a little bit, so this might take a couple of layers. Although that's taking the pencil quite nicely on that first layer. Second layer, sorry. Second layer, not first layer. Come on, Gem. There we go, that's looking quite good. The jade green still looks a little bit patchy on the camera. It's really not. There we go. It's a little bit better. I'll do these ones as well. Just bring this down a little bit further. That's what I was saying about mapping out the colours. It helps you decide exactly where you want things. You know, once you see the actual colour going down, you've got room for manoeuvre there if you want to sort of change things up a little bit, or just make it, you know, a wee bit darker or a wee bit lighter somewhere else. Pop that in there. And the jade green again. I keep looking at this, the yellow parts of these, and I'm thinking that they are too bright. I'm going to wait until I've finished all the leaves, but I may go over the yellow with a very, very light layer of the yellow green again, just to tone it down a little bit, because I do want to keep that more sort of muted type palette, and I think using the space, the outer space colour over the top of it will just obliterate it. I think it'll be too dark. So that's my thinking, but I'm not going to do anything drastic just yet. I like to ruminate over these things before I make any rash decisions so that I don't regret them afterwards. But I do think, like, just even colouring in this olive next to the yellow, I think the yellow's just popping out too much for my liking. It's not what I had in my head, so I may have to augment it slightly, which is fine. That is A-okay, and we can do that without too much trouble as well. Up here now. I'm looking at the timer on the camera and we're at like 47 minutes already. This time is going by so quickly. They do say that though when you're having fun, isn't it? Time flies when you're having fun. I agree. But I literally only have like another 10, maybe 15 minutes at a push. Because this is a completely unscheduled video. It is not Thursday and it is not Sunday, so I couldn't resist though. And I'm pretty sure you guys will be happy that I've done this as well. I hope you're happy. If you're not, please tell me. I don't want unhappy YouTube viewers. That wouldn't be cool at all. It would not be cool at all. Just had to stop to fix my white balance there. I do like to work in natural light, and one of the downsides of that is that it sends my camera nuts every now and then if if really bright sunlight appears outside. But it's a sacrifice I'm willing to make, and stop and fix it. That's okay. I really, really don't like working in artificial light if I can help it. I was talking to one of the boys that works with us about that the other day. I have an aversion to strong light, I really do. In my entire house, including the cave, I have lots and lots of lamps, and you will very rarely find the main light in a room on, what we call the big light. And it's because I absolutely hate it, and it's the same outside. I love being out in the sunshine, but I absolutely have to have sunglasses on. I cannot deal with bright light. And it happened, one of my surgeries that I've had, they had me on medication for a spell, and it made me very sensitive to light. And it's something that's kind of just never gone away. I think it's probably more psychological, obviously, because I'm not taking the drugs anymore. But it's funny how it's just stuck with me, and I really don't like it. It's just, I like subtle lighting, and when you are filming a video, there is absolutely no option for subtle lighting. If you want to film and you want people to be able to see what you're doing, you're going to have a bright light on, and that's one of the reasons why I really don't like working in artificial light. I find it quite offensive to my eyeballs. So I like to work in the daytime as much as I possibly can. And on the plus side as well, the cave has not one but 2 windows, so it is a room that gets plenty of light, hence the reason I picked it to be the cave when we first moved here. I'm not happy with the way the pencil's sitting here. It seems to be very scribbly. Just trying to smooth it out a little bit. Scribbly. There's me with one of my really technical terms again. Oh, good grief. Just put a little bit more olive in there. Move down here to this one. Oh, my little jade green. There's no surprise really that I picked this colour. It is close to my favourite colour, my favourite shade of green. I really like a sort of sage green colour. That is my favourite colour. It's a very calming colour. And if I had my way, my entire house would be sage green. I do actually have a specific pot of paint that I wanted to paint the cave with, and it's just one of those things I've never got around to. It's quite a big job because I have a lot of bookcases in here and I would have to move them all elsewhere, which is not the easiest of jobs, so I've kind of just never done it. It's not like me, they're usually with things like that, I'm really sort of proactive and yep, right, let's do it right now. But it's just something I've never got round to. Which is a shame because I like it. I have said it before, it's quite ironic that this room has ended up being called the Colour Cave, which I have explained before. My husband refers to this as my woman cave, and one day he said to me, he says, "Are you colouring in your cave?" And I was like, yes, I'm colouring in my cave, and that is how the Colour Cave was born. But now we just call it the cave, but many moons ago. And it's quite ironic that the Colour Cave has pale magnolia walls. There's actually no colour inside the room at all. I always find that funny. I think it's funny. There's plenty of other things that are colourful in the room though. My sofa bed cover that the dogs like to lie on, it's bright orange. Doesn't go with anything else in the room, but it's colourful. And now we have some artwork up on the back wall, so like the wall that you guys see when I'm filming my introductions. I do have up on that wall, again that's something I've been meaning to mention for a week or two now. I have on that wall some artwork from one of our viewers, and our viewer's name is Mike. Hi Mike, I don't know if you're watching this video or not, but Mike had sent me some examples of his Posca pen work and I absolutely loved it, and in sending me those I asked him if he would mind if I framed one of his pictures and put it up in the cave, and he let me do it. So I have some of your artwork up on my gallery wall now, which is really nice. I really like that. So that's cheered me up as well. It's nice to have that, because the pictures on the wall are a mixture of my own artwork and other people's artwork. It's not all mine and it's not all other people's. It's just a sort of mishmash. So it's nice to have a watcher of the Colour Cave's artwork up there too. It's kind of cool. Periodically I go into one of my local charity shops or thrift shops for you guys across the pond, and they have a box where all the picture frames go, and they are not priced. The lady in the shop, who's really nice, I actually don't know her name, but I speak to her all the time, she's lovely. She told me that because of the different conditions of the frames and the different sizes, they don't put prices on them because it's not something that they have in all the time. It's quite sporadic, and it's just a donation. That's all they ask for. So I think the last time, I think I purchased maybe 3 frames, and I was going to give her £5 for the 3 frames. And she said to me, she said, oh no, that's far too much, I'll just take £1. And I said to her, I was like, no, that's ridiculous. And I said, I could, you know, if I was to go and buy similar frames, even cheap versions, they would be at least £2 or £3 each, if not more. So let me pay £5 for, you know, for all of them. And she had a bit of a flutter to herself. She's like, oh my goodness, that's really. And I said, well, that's, you asked for a donation, that's my donation. So I think she was quite happy about that. So now she sees me coming and she's like, are you here for some picture frames? It's quite entertaining. Right, okay, we've got this little one down here. I'm coming close to an hour now, so I'm just going to finish this little one off, and then I'm going to go back around with my outer space pencil, and then I'm really going to have to stop because I have somewhere that I need it to be, which is not what I want to do right now. I want to sit here and keep colouring with you guys, but needs must, I'm afraid. Let's pop this olive in down here and back with the jade again, and we'll just build this up, blend it together a little bit. Oh, missed a spot there. Okay, outer space, where are you? Here, we're here. I'm going to go back over here now. Right, so we've kind of dealt with this part. Yeah, okay, at border leaves, that's what we were doing. Come on, Jen. So I'm really thinking mostly about the areas where I've put the olive down. That's the kind of starting point for wanting to add this in. But there are places like here where there's an overlap, so I'm going to put a tiny little smidge down there, but it's, again, I'm trying to keep it quite subtle. I'm not pulling that right out, but you can see the amount of depth that gives you instantly between this leaf and this leaf. That tiny little line makes all the difference. It is important to use it sparingly though, so that it doesn't lose its impact. So when I'm adding into these sections here, I'm being careful that it is just a tiny amount of the pencil. And some of you might think, well, what's the point, you might as well not bother. But when you see it together in the bigger picture once it's finished, it's those little touches that just up your colouring page game a little bit. Just make it look that wee bit more interesting, and that is always what I am aiming for. Okay, the snoring has stopped and there's now squeaking coming from the kitchen, so we're now dreaming. It's hilarious. My dogs are so funny. I don't know who it is that's dreaming. I'm just having a look around here. I've got the little Jack Russell with me. Woo's asleep on the sofa bed. She's absolutely out cold, but exercising for her now at her age, because she's nearly 14, she still runs about for the same length of time as the big dogs who are both younger than her. But it's when she comes in, that's when our age is like sort of gives it away, because she literally just goes and climbs in her bed and goes to sleep, and that's her like all afternoon. So that's what she's doing. She's absolutely out cold. It's kind of cute though. Okay, I'm going to put a little bit down here as well. Okay, just the same thing. I'm kind of jumping about here, but it's just where my eye's taking me. I'm really sorry if you're finding this hard to follow, but I just have to keep sort of moving around and keep looking and, you know, seeing where I want to put some of these darker lines in. This pencil is so good for this. I really like it. It's a shame it's got short so quickly. I think there's another grey that I would possibly use in its place. Yeah, there's one called Ash, which is kind of halfway between outer space and like the normal grey. It's not quite as blue as the outer space, but I think that would probably be a good second place. Or you could maybe use indigo as well, but that might be too blue. Yeah, it's too blue. That's too blue. Can't have that. Yeah, I'm liking that. I just don't want it to be too obvious, but by the same token I want that little bit of depth to it, just in some places. Alright, I think I am done for today. I'm just going to zoom out and let you guys see the bigger picture now, see where we've got to. There we go. See, now that I see that zoomed out and I actually see it on the monitor, the yellow actually looks okay, and I'm kind of changing my mind again about muting that down. So that just goes to show you it's not wise to make instant decisions on your colouring page. So that's looking okay so far. I'm still quite comfortable with how this is turning out, so that's good. Guys, I hope you have enjoyed this today and you've enjoyed the little sort of surprise video. I will make sure that I carry this on in the not too distant future. There are other videos lined up. Some of you know already that I do film quite far in advance because of the type of work and things that I do. But I'm going to try and squeeze in another one of these videos with this page, probably I would say towards the end of next week. So you can, if you can hold on till then, that would be great. But feel free to join us again next week and we can do a little bit more on the picture. Thank you so much for joining me, guys. As always, it's been a pleasure and it's been lovely to sit here and colour in this little spare space of time that I have. I hope you're all having a really good day and we'll see you soon again in the cave. Bye for now, everyone.